Welcome back to Movie Synopsis. Today I will show you a horror mystery film from 2017 titled Rings. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. A monitor in the plane is showing a video as the aircraft prepares for landing. A man becomes anxious when a woman beside him initiates a conversation. He quickly informs her about a video recording that allegedly results in death 7 days after viewing. The man had encountered a woman exactly 7 days earlier who sent him the video. He discovered an old VCR and watched the tape. Afterward, his phone rang and a girl's voice informed him that he had 7 days. After the call, everything turned into an unusual situation. All of a sudden, he notices that his nose is bleeding and rushes to the restroom. Another woman shows up beside the first woman and informs her about the man. Strange things start happening while he is in the toilet. The woman knocked on the door and inquired if he had made a duplicate of the tape, mentioning that she had also watched it. Suddenly, the peculiar video starts playing on every screen aboard the aircraft. Dark fluid is leaking from the toilet, causing the man to panic as he tries to escape from it. The plane starts to descend as a girl with long hair emerges from the screens. 2 years later, Skye visits a bazaar where she spots a VCR. Gabriel comes up to her and says he is going to purchase it. The seller of the vintage items informed him that they had once belonged to the man who had died in the plane crash. Gabriel is attempting to repair the VCR when suddenly an old tape emerges. Skye is preparing to depart from his location when he invites her to join him in watching the tape. Due to her rush, she leaves, prompting him to decide to watch it alone. The VCR didn't work initially, but when he tried to light a cigarette, it suddenly started working. He is watching the peculiar video. Both a woman brushing her hair and the reflection of a long-haired girl can be observed. A woman can be observed leaping off a cliff. After the video finishes, Gabriel receives a call from the girl informing him that he only has 7 days left to live. A fly emerges from the end of his cigarette. Gabriel goes to the window, intending to break it, only to realize that the rain outside is falling in an unexpected direction. Julia is lying in bed, listening to Holt as he narrates the tale of Orpheus. They come close to kissing, but then his alarm goes off. She informs him that he must pack for college. Holt's father is loading his bags into the car and informing him that they must leave. He bids farewell and departs for college in his car. After 6 weeks, they communicate via Skype. He updates her on his courses and mentions that he won't be home for another week. Out of nowhere, his friends show up and whisk him away to attend a party. The following day, she is anticipating his response to her text. During the night, she experiences a dream about Holt that starts off pleasant but quickly transforms into a horrifying nightmare, causing her to awaken with screams. Out of the blue, she receives a call from Holt, but upon answering, she finds Skye on the other end, inquiring about his whereabouts. As she confides in Julia, her expression contorts with determination as she warns that Holt is in grave danger as the girl is on her way to seek revenge and nothing can stand in her way. The call disconnects and she tries to reach him on his phone, but he doesn't answer. Julia packs up and leaves to go visit Holt. While she drives, she continues to leave him voice messages. The following day, she comes to his campus. Julia knocks on his door, but when no one responds, she enters. He discovers his phone lying on the floor. Holt received text messages from Skye instructing him to meet her after their biology class. Julia retrieved a key from his board and checked his schedule to find out when he has that class. Afterward, Gabriel is observed delivering a lecture. He teaches them. As soon as Julia enters the classroom, all eyes are immediately drawn to her. Julia approaches Gabriel after he finishes the lecture. Gabriel informs her that he doesn't have a clear memory of their relationship and advises her to let go, suggesting that he may have moved on with someone else. Julia follows him because she doesn't believe that he is unaware of Holt. She notices the floor he exited on and decides to take the second elevator. If she is unable to select the identical floor, she employs the key discovered in Holt's dormitory. As soon as she exits the elevator, she catches sight of a television. It has a camera attached to it, capturing footage of everyone who comes in. She comes across a book written by Gabriel about the enigma of Samara, the girl with flowing long hair from the videos. Julia discovers a room on the same floor containing distorted pictures from students, including one featuring Holt. While examining the room, she notices Skye in a heated discussion with Gabriel. She informs him that Holt has not been answering his phone and explains that Gabriel needs to assist her as he initiated the situation. Sky describes her sensation of Samara's presence and her understanding of their actions. Gabriel advises her to go home and stay there until someone arrives to view the video. Julia observes multiple screens displaying countdowns, with one of them specifically featuring Holt's name. She chases after Sky, inquiring about the reason for her call and the whereabouts of Holt. Sky informs her that she is willing to assist, but she requests to see something first. Upon entering Sky's place, they find her seated at her computer right away. Julia sees that Sky's phone is ringing. Holt is sending a text to Julia, and she responds with a message. He inquires if she is with Sky as she lines up a copy of the video for her to view. Holt advises her against watching the video. Sky notices that Julia is in possession of her phone, and they engage in a fight. She pleads with her to watch the video, but Julia pushes her away and conceals it. Sky pleads with her for assistance. The video on the computer begins playing unexpectedly. Sky breaks her computer. She briefly believes she has outwitted Samara, only to have her TV start playing the video. The Sky turns off, but then it quickly turns back on. Samara starts to exit the well, while Sky also breaks the television. Samara continues to emerge from the TV, and Sky is at a loss for what to do next. Samara raises the screen and emerges from it in pursuit of Sky. She attempts to break free from her, but Samara persists and ultimately takes her life. Julia listens to the cries and cautiously looks through the keyhole. Out of nowhere, Samara emerges at the doorway. When she unlocks it, Julia is able to see Sky's body on a chair as soon as it opens. She sprints towards the apartment door, only to realize that she requires a key to exit. Julia walks towards Sky's body to retrieve her keys, but when she sees her face, she becomes startled. After she unlocks the door, Holt suddenly appears in front of her, inquiring about what had happened and wondering if she had seen the video. Julia informs him that Sky has passed away. Holt called Gabriel later that night. The professor is aware of Sky and informs him that individuals have begun leaving the monitoring group. Holt inquires whether there is still someone monitoring the video for him. Gabriel assures that he will find a person to keep an eye on it. Holt offers an apology to Julia for not informing her, explaining that he wished to keep her out of the situation. 12 hours after Sky watched the video, Gabriel approached him and invited him to participate in an experiment. The professor informed them that the tape could potentially confirm the existence of life after death and act as a pathway to the afterlife. Holt clarifies that once you watch the tape, you have a week to show it to someone else in order to ensure your safety. Julia is angry with him for getting caught up in something like that. Afterward, she awakens beside Holt and notices a handprint on his back. Julia wakes up and observes the video that Holt has. The book is brimming with unsettling and bizarre visuals. It concludes with a visual of the well. The phone is ringing. Julia receives a call every 7 days. When she touches the handle of the door in her vision, she feels a burning sensation in her hand. Holt woke up to her, telling him that she had watched it. When Gabriel calls, he informs her that she will require someone to monitor a duplicate of the video for her. Afterwards, while on their way to meet Gabriel, Julia and the other person witness a bird hitting the window, which nearly causes them to have a car accident. Holt is unable to see the bird. She rushes out of the car and discovers the bird struggling on the road, narrowly avoiding being hit by a truck. Holt manages to pull her away on time, but the bird is no longer there. They reach Gabriel's place, and Holt reveals that she was marked on the very first day, indicating that the curse is evolving unlike before. While scanning Julia's hand, Gabriel confesses that he misinterpreted the significance of the tape and the experiment. He advises Julia on how to survive, but she is resistant to taking such action against another person. Hulk persuades her to create a duplicate of the video as a precaution. Gabriel notices that when she tries to do it, her version won't replicate. They are aware that her duplicate is a larger size than the original. They carefully go through the video and spot the bird that Julia noticed in the car. Gabriel made a statement indicating that it is not supposed to be there. They visit his office in order to retrieve his equipment. He carefully reviews the video and discovers information within the extra static frames in Julia's version, essentially a video embedded in another video. Holt sits down to watch the video with her, but Gabriel suggests that it may have been meant for Julia specifically. She persuades him to allow her to watch it alone. He is holding her hand. The video has changed significantly from its previous version. She describes to them the items she observes: a clock, a cross, a flood, and a girl. She observes a fiery figure, a doorway, and Samara at the far end. Gabriel claims that the images were never previously recorded on the tape. He also clarifies that in certain cultures, cremation is believed to free the spirit. Julia recalls having seen the cross before, and she points it out to them. Gabriel informs her that the location is where Samara was laid to rest. Julia declares that's the place they must visit. And then the phone rings. Gabriel has been told that the police are en route to the location. He will remain behind to speak with the authorities because he is burdened by the guilt of Sky's death. He hands over all of his research on Samara and the tape before they depart. Julia and Holt go to the church where she was laid to rest. She claims that the visuals on the tape depicted Samara's narrative, which she desired to be known. The girl was left alone as a child, and her origins were a mystery to everyone. When she was adopted, they discovered that there was something malicious within her. An attempt was made on her life, but Samara managed to survive for 7 days while trapped at the bottom of the well. Several years passed before her body was found. Nevertheless, Julia is unaware of the reason her body was brought to the town where she was laid to rest. She envisions another pregnant girl that appeared on the tape. They reach a motel and check into a room. Julia notices the pregnant girl in the photo and inquires with the person who owns it. She informs them that the girl vanished 3 decades ago and does not wish to discuss it anymore. They both attend a church and enter a gathering for Alcoholics Anonymous. They search the area, but if they do not find anything they believe would be useful, they depart. Holt inquires with a man about the reasons for the church's closure. While explaining that it occurred after a flood, he points out a group of birds leading Julia towards the cemetery. At the same time, Gabriel is gathering his belongings when he suddenly becomes aware of something. He looks at Julia's palm print again and attempts to contact them. Since he is unable to reach them, he chooses to locate them. Gabriel leaves Holt a message stating that the symbol on Julia's palm is actually written in Braille. At the same time, Julia and Holt are at the cemetery seeking out the grave of Samara. Julia comes across an unmarked object and remembers seeing it in a video. She beckons Holt to come over and then stands listening to a peculiar noise emanating from the grave. Holt discovers her, and Julia informs him that Samara is present. They dig up the grave, only to discover that there is no body within. Julia believes that someone has relocated her. She notices writing inside the tomb and decides to enter. Julia, the inscription declares that she will find you. All of a sudden, she finds herself trapped inside the grave and hears a noise coming from behind her. The video starts playing on her phone. Chains are visible in the video, appearing out of nowhere on Julia's arm. She is pulled through the graveyard and up to the well. Holt suddenly takes her out. It appears that she experienced another vision. A dog begins to bark at them, and when Holt informs the owner that they are searching for Samara, the owner indicates that he is aware. He escorts them to Burke's residence. Upon their arrival, he informs him that he caught them in the act of breaking into the grave. He inquires whether he should bring them to the sheriff's office, but Burke insists that he can handle the situation. Burke extends an invitation for them to come inside. They take a seat for tea, and he inquires about how they located her burial site. Julia shares with him the vision that led them to their current location, along with the vision she experienced inside. Burke informs them of how the body made its way to their town. The priest intended to provide her with a place of rest, but the town was nearly destroyed as a result. Holt comes to the realization that she was the cause of the flood. Burke admits to Julia that he too was under the impression that Samara was attempting to convey a message to him. He was dragged into the grave and experienced horrifying visions. Following that, he lost his eyesight, which was almost a welcome relief. The priest asked for her body to be relocated. He cautions them not to search for her before their departure and reassures Julia that having visions does not necessarily equate to understanding their meaning. They exchange handshakes, and he interprets the Braille inscription on her palm, but doesn't disclose its meaning to her. He advises them to be cautious. Holt and Julia leave the scene, but then continue their search for the body. While they were traveling to their destination, they were stopped by the police due to the road closure. All of a sudden, Julia experiences another vision of the pregnant girl and quickly exits the car. The police officer intercepts Holt, and she continues to trace her sight along the street. She leads her to a wrecked car with Gabriel trapped inside. Julia hurries over to him, and he awakens. As Holt runs towards them, he attempts to inform her about the inscription on her hand and manages to pull her aside just in time before a pole threatens to crush her too. Gabriel passes away. Afterwards, Holt arrives with his bag and mentions that Gabriel had something he wanted to share with them. Julia says that the girl also had something she wanted to share with them, indicating that she has ties to Samara. She states that they have to return. Julia mentions in the hotel that she is able to sense her pain and distress. Holt departs to fetch some food, leaving her there by herself. Julia rewatches the video and finally understands the significance of the ring shown at the start. Meanwhile, Holt enters a diner and takes a seat beside the motel owner. He inquires about the girl in the photograph. At the same time, Julia returns to the deserted church and forcibly enters. She quickly makes her way to the church bell and notices water pooling beneath it. She hits the ground and hears a hollow sound. Julia removes the flooring and discovers a hidden trapdoor below. The woman is giving Holt information about the girl. She informs him that she simply disappeared. Julia goes beneath the church and discovers a room. She notices the pregnant girl's sweater and the birdcage from the video. Julia becomes aware that the priest had been keeping the girl imprisoned below, when suddenly she hears someone approaching from behind. As soon as she looks back, the girl vanishes, and Julia suddenly envisions the room as it once was. There is a loud noise at the front door, and she goes to open it. Julia shines her light inside, and once more the girl's vision appears. She discovers chains scattered on the floor and markings on the wall, indicating the duration the girl spent confined indoors. She determines that it is equivalent to 8.5 months. The girl was pregnant with Samara while she was in captivity. Meanwhile, the owner informs Holt that they never discovered what happened to the girl. She informs him that Burke is the priest as well. Holt departs, and Julia comes to Burke's residence. Julia reassures him that she comprehends the visions and inquires about the priest. He inquires about her knowledge, and she informs him of her discoveries regarding the girl. Julia believes that the curse will continue until she is liberated. Holt returns to the motel, only to discover that she has vanished. Burke informs Julia that he was confident that he would have a child who would make a significant impact on the world. He demonstrates that he prioritizes himself and prevents her from escaping by pushing her down. Julia comes to the realization that Samara's father had moved her bones, confirming that she is still his captive. Julia is running, but she is unable to leave the house. Burke switches off every light and searches for her. He informs her that she is the 12th individual to search for Samara and warns that locating her would not bring peace, but rather unleash chaos upon the world. Burke locates her and strikes her. At the same time, Holt is hurrying to his home. The priest is pursuing Julia with the intention of preventing her from releasing Samara. He restrained the girl because she was attempting to harm their child, and he believed he should have allowed her to do so. Both of them have difficulty, and he tumbles down the stairs. Julia has had another vision. She walks towards a room, guided by a light, and upon opening the door, she is greeted by numerous items that she had previously seen in the video. Julia wanders the house in pursuit of her visions, oblivious to the meaning behind Samara's message, until she suddenly experiences a nosebleed. Samara reveals Julia's burial place, prompting Julia to rip down the wall. At the same time, Holt enters the house and listens as Julia moves around on the floor above. He searches the entire house for her and reaches the stairs, where he discovers something on the floor. The priest is alive and still able to knock him out. Julia breaks through the wall and discovers the remains of Samara. Burke reaches her as well and begins to choke her. Julia's phone displays Samara. Another vision occurs where Samara implores Julia to stay with her and not depart. Samara emerges from Julia's phone. When Burke hears her voice, he turns back and she miraculously restores his vision. He eventually gazes at her and passes away, following the same fate as the others. Holt awakens to discover Julia. She informs him that things are not finished. On that night, they witness the burning of Samara's remains. Julia states that she has no commitments. After Julia showers, Holt finally listens to Gabriel's voicemail, revealing that the inscription on Julia's hand is written in Braille. Holt discovers a scan of her palm in one of his books. At the same time, Julia notices a broken callus on her palm. She rips it apart. Upon exiting the shower, Julia starts coughing and removing strands of hair from her throat, along with a hairball. A fly emerges from it. Julia gazes at her reflection in the mirror and has a recurring vision of Samara, who insists that it will not cease. Holt is translating the Braille inscription on Julia's hand when the computer suddenly malfunctions and the video is sent to all of Julia's contacts before he can finish. After the translation is completed, it reveals the term Rebirth. He requests Julia to come. While gazing at her reflection in the mirror and wiping away the condensation, she transforms into Samara. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.